is read and respond. But my question to Tamara and Katie is, how do we onboard them as a coach? Like, if you got paid $15 for, or $30 for 2 hours, or it might even be just 1 hour, say $30 for 1 hour, what would be the best use of the time to onboard someone?
So is that in addition to the workshops we're already doing? That's just my question of like.
That is in addition, but this one is paid.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out like a good starting point for them of probably one, the overview of like what the whole program's going to look like, like a basic overview of step 1, journaling, step 2, resonate editing, and step 3, read and respond. That would be the easiest. And then breaking it down by the acts to try and say, okay, so in the first act, which is probably where you're going to spend most of your time in the beginning, is, what we're doing in the workshops, in a sense of, journaling pain, journaling, the shadow work we do. I'm just kind of going into that explanation just so they understand, like, this is what Act 1 is, and this is kind of what it means to be a journal artist. Because if they don't have an understanding of, like, what is the importance of Act 1 in that sense, step 1, then the rest of the program's not going to make sense, because at the heart of it, it's like, okay, well, you're journaling to hopefully publish. That to me is, unless the understanding has changed, of like, is it the program is to journal to publish, or is it to journal and do something else? The something else can be attached onto it, but I think having the clear end goal of, like, is the end product to, grow and publish something, or is it to go through it so you can host workshops? So I think if we make that very clear in the beginning, that'll help clarify some points so that they know this is what we're going to work towards and these are the steps to get to that.
Yeah, I definitely hear that there is a piece of, like, goal orientation for them.
Because I think the end goal is still kind of vague at times to me. I'm like, is it to add them to the Slack channel? Do they want to become editors? Do they want to, I don't know. Sometimes it's a bit murky, even for me. So I'm like, I gotta have that clear. What is the end goal?
Yeah.
And I'll say that when we're talking about goals, that our job is, I guess, coaches may depend on what it is that they need help with. So maybe make sure that we're clarifying, okay, what do you want? Do you want to be published, or do you just want to have the community to where you can go and journal with someone and not be published?
Mm-hmm.
And they may wind up getting into the workbook and things like that, needing help with that. And I guess explaining the whole concept of what shadow work and everything like that is. So our onboarding, I hate to say it, but it's gonna differ from person to person, or at least I think it is.
I agree.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how onboarding is gonna look, besides trial and error. We're just gonna have to go through it and see.
Yeah. Well, actually, Tamara, as you're saying it's good, like the mentoring and coaching stuff of, turning the pain into, or tragedy into, something else. And we can also, if that's what they're doing, is like, okay, at the end of this, you'll have something to reflect on, whether it's published or not. I think that's definitely a good distinction of, like, here's what you'll get out of it. So package overview of, we're going to mentor you, you're going to, join some groups, do journaling workshops, grow as a writer, grow as a person, those kinds of things. And then have, like, the options, like, if you're wanting at the end of this to publish, this is also included in the package, kind of thing. So
I would say, well, I think these are really good things to have. I think what we can do as soon as they onboard, we can send them a I don't know what to call it yet, but something along the lines of sorry, I'm trying to
Sorry.
think of the name.
Yeah.
I feel like I know what you're trying to say, but I don't know.
Right.
Is it like a kit or
Thank you. It's a
a
kit,
welcome package kind of thing? Like,
introduction kit where they can fill out a pre-assessment to clarify something, like they can write in first
yeah.
and then go over it with a mentor.
Oh, kind of like a consultation kind of thing almost. Okay. That makes more sense. Yeah. So we could have that, talk with the talk with the journal artist about what you need.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's something that they can it's not for us, it's for them.
Okay.
So I like the word toolkit or media kit,
Yeah.
introduction kit or orientation kit,
Mhm.
consultation with mentor kit. I don't know, like something kit. I would just have
Journaling kit maybe.
yeah, we have to think of the brand of it, like the journal artist starter kit.
Oh,
Yeah, I
wait.
kinda,
It could be the producer's playbook kit maybe, or is
Yeah,
that too broad?
that's a little see that's a little tricky because I think if we give them too many new terms, they're gonna get lost. So I think maybe the journal artist introduction kit
Mm.
to the producer's playbook program. I mean, it's a lot of
That's a lot of words.
forget it. But that might be a
or
sub.
you can, I'm sorry to interrupt. Maybe just journal artist intro kit, and
That's good.
that's simple as that. If you want to go back and change it, that's fine. But it is using that same terminology, that journal artist, and then just introduction kit.
Both. Actually,
Okay.
we're gonna make their Act One experience super powerful, so they're like, "Man, I'm getting my money's worth on this." I'm
So we would kind of, in a sense, then to make it easier, we would have like a welcome introduction, like here's what to expect out of the program, just like keep it brief. And then when we have orientation as it would go, to go over what's all in the kit and how it's going to apply. So we would probably need just a small little thing for that. Not necessarily a rubric, but that might be helpful to also include, like, for your journey, let's look at it on a, I don't know, 15-week scale. I don't know how, it depends on,
the person.
how,
Yeah.
it depends on the person, but just to say like projection of, like for the first 15, this is what you'll be doing. Here are the chapters and, those kinds of things. That might be looking too far ahead, but
No, it's actually great. I think we would let them know specifically what the assignments are in program Act One and ask them as a coach, like, okay, let's get to your calendar. Let's actually schedule it, how many hours do you plan on, it is coaching because I think what they need is first orientation in that introduction kit of like how to operate Slack, how to log in to our back end, who to go to if they need to reset their password.
So is it just to clarify, so for the coach and everything in the Slack, that is if they're wanting to coach or if they just want to go through the journal artist program? Because it feels like those are two separate things, but I just want clarification if that's the same thing.
Comes with 1 hour of coaching. It's part of the package. And in that coaching, so we give them that like introduction kit and we can ask them, we could first give them like three choices. Like what areas do you want to focus on? Is it for why are you joining this program? Is it to publish a book? Is it to heal from your trauma? Is it, and then maybe prioritize it, rank it, like, because it might not
Right.
be, it might be all of it, but if they had a priority, what would the third one be?
Mentor, maybe become a brand, I don't know, a journal artist ambassador or something like that.
Ooh, yeah, public speaking or brand ambassador, pay it back to the community.
I think that's what I was getting confused on, because I forgot the coaching is for us and not necessarily them to become a coach in that sense. So that's why it's been a long day. So that's where the distinction, I was like, oh wait, they're joining to like lead others. I was like, wait, no, not yet.
Yeah, not yet. I think, but you know what? It is possible,
Mhm.
But I think for Act One, it's maybe we need a different, okay, so publish a book, heal from your trauma,
Mhm.
build self-confidence in your writing, uh, get connected to a community to be more creative,
Mhm.
or and then not or but like and ranking it. The fifth one might be like pay it forward in the future as a journal artist ambassador for Love Story,
Mm.
and then have them rank their priorities and and then we'll see what responses we get from them.
Mindry, I hate to interrupt. And I know it's just a working process, but I think we should probably keep the choices down to 3, just
Yeah,
so that that they're not overwhelmed. I think publish a book, heal from trauma, and connect with the community, because they're gonna what they want out of the program is gonna grow with them anyway. So I feel like let's just start them off with the basic, making them feel more at home and like they're gonna get something at the end. They're either gonna publish a book, they're gonna heal from their trauma, or they're gonna, gain friendships, from the community. That's my opinion.
I love it. Let's keep it. And then breakthroughs to expect. And maybe we could pull from the list that Christina made, all the benefits of therapeutic writing, journaling, and we could just create a list, again, not too long, and have them rank it and make sure like we have a other category just in case we missed anything. But like what are some breakthroughs they want from that? And then maybe the next thing is like when they meet the coach,
Mhm.
maybe our job is just to help them prioritize their schedules
Mhm.
to make it realistic. Like
Okay.
your planner,
So
um,
yeah, it would be a like, planning out when will this work, what will the timeline work, staying on top of things, and like you said, what a fitness coach does, knowing that healthy line of pushing them, and then also helping to see them the larger picture.
right.
My question then for coaches is, how many people would a coach have at one time?
I mean, it depends on each person,
Okay.
but just know that I would budget it at $30 for that hour to pay
Mhm.
the coach, and
Mhm.
we would coach them for an hour.
Okay.
So that would be they could book that hour any time throughout the year.
Okay. I
And
just was wondering it, like, for consistency's sake, if they're like, oh, like, I like this one coach the most, can I stick with them for, multiple sessions or through the whole program? That's what I was thinking. It's like, is it,
right.
oh, you're assigned these people, later on to have accountability, if they're going through the program long
Yeah.
term.
That reminds me, we should set something up inside the program where they could upgrade their package. So if they need additional coaching, like what would that package look like? So we don't know, but I
Because
mean,
that might also be good to, include like the coaches that you could work with.
yeah. And so for now, we would ask our more veteran coaches to do it, to go out and just try it out. Yeah.
Would
All
we, yeah, so would we have like a session to go over like just coaching basics and just, like an overview of the project, or
Process?
all the stuff, just so that it's clear this is what we're all talking about, and the understanding's clear, kind of like a little workbook for coaching almost.
Totally. I would like to co-create that with us.
Mhm.
I think the three of us creating that, at least that part of it for this month is appropriate. Just the three of us, like literally the three of us right now, like the onboarding session, but the actual coaching, it could be us and it could be other people. Like I know Viviani's ready. She's had extensive experience coaching and leading. I feel confident she could do it. She's also consistent hosting the journaling workshops, right? So I would trust her to also onboard with us, and maybe a few more people. Getting our first client from the journaling circles that we're doing. It's slow, but it's gonna. I have faith that it's gonna exponentially grow. It's all about branding. Like once we're branded, then people trust us. We have a well-oiled machine going where all of us know what to do, how we're getting paid. You know what I mean? Like all that needs to be worked through. So right now, this is just like the trial period where we need to work out the kinks and just try it out. So yeah. Questions, comments? All right. So that's my share. Now let's go over to who's next, Tamara?
Now, I think, let me go back.
Kate.
James and then Katie. Yeah, Katie is next.
So,
Could you go over the findings of relevant studies?
was it that one, or was I supposed to find more?
No, just what you've already got, what you've
Okay.
already written.
So I really don't have anything written, but as far as like all the articles I've been finding, I will say it does correlate with a lot of what we're saying. Most psychologists and other groups have said, journaling has been proven to reduce stress, reduce anxiety. Even some have suggested it as a form of meditation, which was an interesting article. I've included most of them in like the relevant articles and everything. So the Get Pocket ones, those are usually easier to find, but those are more like think pieces and less sounded in more science. But there have been some like CNN articles. There's been some other ones that have had like a lot of studies about that are at least shorter that I can understand, because some of them are quite dense. But going back to that one article from that one,
Katie, I don't mean to interrupt, but could you share screen on the Trello card for the blog post you started, and then maybe share some of your docs? Because I like to actually thumb through the paragraphs and look for keywords that we could utilize in the next 30 days for the SEO team and for the marketing team. And also for us when we're beginning the introduction kit.
Okay. Let me pull up a few.
Wow. Thank you for the extensive research. Awesome.
No problems. I'll have to find what I did with that other document. But also like things about how to start journaling. So DIY journaling, which is also something we do. So that was the 2 blog posts, and I can't remember. Oh wait, hold on. I have the links for those. I did. So I need you to open. So the Federalist was also one I found. I don't know much about them, but this was the one that talked about, how to process anxiety. And it went through, just like how it's a survival technique, what journaling can do. This one was interesting because it kind of talked about, the 5 stages of grief, especially in the pandemic, which is what a lot of articles have been talking about you. They're like, hey, you need to probably journal through it, even though it's hard. And since these are extraordinary times, they're like, this is why this is so important one is a historical, map of where you've been, what's happened, your mental state, just day-to-day things you may not see in the moment, but for later on. So that's what a lot of articles have talked about. This part right here, writing through, helps us avoid getting into unproductive circles of anxiety. So, to see it and then to arc it, in a sense, is what they've kind of been saying, or at least this article has.
Right.
So, yeah,
Okay.
there's been a lot of good stuff. So that was that one. Some of these were like, how to start journaling. So they're real, like, simple ones. And journaling has no rules, kind of like what we go on is, it's journal how you want to, but also kind of having that framework in mind about what you want to journal. So that one kind of just talks more about journals and stuff. And then this one kind of goes over like a time capsule. So those were some things that were key, at least for this period of time, of like why the journaling process is very important and what we could probably be doing during 2020 of, it does transform your pain into tragedy, but it also helps you to kind of encapsulate those experiences. So
Yeah, I want to say something about the capturing your pain into a tragedy and capturing it into a capsule. Most people are like, why would I want to capture that into a capsule if it's so painful? But we can make the argument that pain serves a lesson, a life lesson. It could serve as a meaningful way of looking at why it happened and how to move forward from there. Like, what is our next pivot as a result of understanding and breaking down our past that's painful.
Yeah, this article definitely was going on to that, like, seeking meaning in it and, actually choosing reflection. So they're saying, journaling goes hand in hand with that, which is how it also works as a form of meditation of, taking that time to reflect and to have that quiet space. I think I've got that one somewhere. I know I have it at least on the Facebook one. So, that was one of the articles I'd written about. The other one was just, that one was a little bit more of a think piece. It wasn't quite grounded in facts, but it was still interesting about, just someone's experience of journaling through the pandemic and what that kind of looks like.
Yeah.
So most of what I've got is here in terms of all the articles. Definitely making it a little more focused on what does it help you do rather than, oh, these are just happy journaling experiences. So
yeah,
I think that was a Berkeley one. So yeah, stressed and isolated. Those were also some keywords I was looking for about how it helps, you feel less isolated. And then, how we do the journaling workshops, which not only is just you journaling, but you're journaling with other people. So I don't think I've found any on like group journaling yet. So I'll start looking into that because that'll be some interesting research if people have not done that already.
I like the power of opening up right there.
And then, yeah, of course, why do we avoid journaling?
It's definitely not pleasant. I'll say that. It's expected to not be pleasant. In fact, let's just write that in the orientation right now. It's like,
why are you avoiding journaling? So yeah, actually, I don't know if I did that one. Maybe someone else put that one there. I don't know. There's so many. There's so many. Oh, this was the one, the Art of Meditation. Let me see if I can pull that one up. Come here. I think maybe Christina found the Berkeley one because that's a really good one. Yeah, so journaling is like a meditative practice. So like in all things, oh no, where'd Tamara go?
Uh-oh, probably the hurricane or some kind of, because I know Viviani's gave me the heads up on the hurricanes. We were just talking about that today.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so, just looking at it from that perspective of how it can be brought into, more physical health and mindful health and meditation. So, because most people don't think of it as meditation. So it's like, oh, we could talk about that and practicing mindfulness and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally meditation. I know that's how I do my meditation
Mm-hmm.
writing.
And yeah, so like committing to amount of time. So in the sense of like what we do of 15 minutes distraction free journaling and being consistent in that and, kind of taking the time to reorient yourself in that. So, and
Totally.
yeah, 10 to 15 minutes there. We've got that.
That's the magic number.
And then, yeah, so reading your journal, I think that's also like an interesting thing as well, because we do that either, in the present or later on, reading your journal.
You're good. We're actually just ready to talk about BLM discussions, how that's been going. Would you like to lead that, Tamara?
Yes, I'll go ahead. Now, I'll be honest, when we first started, it started off as the journaling, just the BLM journaling, but it turned into the discussions, and I think I'm fine with that. I think I'm all right with talking to other people and getting their opinions on it. And it's been going well. I guess my only concern is how I'm going to behave when it gets to the point where people are outwardly angry. And I think that's also going to come in trial and error, but I don't want to wait until there's an error. I want to already make sure that I have a plan in place and to de-escalate the situation, if I can say it like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's also one thing I wanted to talk about. I saw a link that you sent where there was this forum of people and they were talking about rights and all that. I joined in for a little while, but I had to log on off so that I could get on and do BLM discussions. But what they did at the first beginning, they played a clip from a show, and they wanted to know how you felt when you saw it. And I think that would be something good for us to do, just to get the ball rolling, to get people's emotions involved. And I know that it's a sensitive topic. I know that people are going to become angry, but at the same time, we do want them to be able to come to a place where they can express how they feel. If you have anything to say on that, feel free to cut me off and jump on in.
No, I think it's good because it kind of ties into, like being triggered, but also, not letting the trigger consume you. And that's the purpose of the journaling, is like you can still have that anger and still have that, but it's like, how are you, in a sense, are you projecting it or redirecting it? Are you looking at it or are you processing it? So I think that's a good opportunity to kind of, put those things of the journaling experience into play of, okay, you're feeling this, you can feel that, you're allowed to feel that, but here, what are you going to do in this moment? Are you going to, project, deflect, reflect, one of those things? So
I like that.
Yeah, wait 1 second. I'm trying to take all that down because it was it was good. You said project, deflect, and it was something else. What did I miss?
Reflect.
Reflect. Okay. Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, that was good, Katie. Yeah. I think that's all I wanted to say about it.
Yeah, I want to add to that. I was there too at the forum. I do you remember, Tamara, there was a moment where there was a tense moment because we had a person that represented the cops and another person that represented more of like the community of people. Yeah, so it's like I did sense the tension, and I saw
I did too.
the facial, like, ooh, the bad, it's like you can't, especially, like I respect the fact that someone just looks upset. It's fine, like don't try to cover it. So it was obvious someone was upset there. So yeah, those are just some things that we could discuss more of, like, okay, someone's visibly upset. Can we hold space for that upsettedness? Because sooner or later someone will say something that's offensive.
Right. It is.
It's a matter of when, not if. And so I just screenshot their ground rules. I sent that over to you just now.
Okay.
But yeah, I will say something just from my perspective of BLM discussions that I've attended. I find it productive. I do like when we share our personal experiences, because then there's just holding space and being not what the news are saying, because we all know what the news are saying. It's just like picking sides in a football team at that point, because it's like you're not in it, but you're choosing a team to fight for, like a debate team, you know. But if we come from that personal shared space of like, this is what I've personally seen, experienced, these are some good things, these are some bad things, then we can let other people's personal experiences help us and inform us of where we're going, you know.
Okay.
In civil rights. Yeah.
I'm just trying to type it down too.
Yep.
There is one other thing I wanted to bring up, but give me just 1 second. But it's not related to BLM. It's just give me a minute. I can't type and talk at the same
Take your time. Take your time.
time.
You are good.
Okay. Now, when I looked over the edits, I saw that you left me a note about the fiction writer's creed. That's what it was called in the book about. I sent it to everybody on the board, and you guys can edit it how you want. But it's just saying like what our purpose is. Can I share screen and just go
Yeah.
ahead?
Oh, am I still host?
Hold on. I got you. Yep. Go ahead.
Now you're gonna see the meeting notes. I'm gonna clean it up before I give it to you. But this is it, and it's just saying like not to execute a personal vendetta, shine a light on social and economic injustices. I know that this is gonna have to change its wording a lot, but I'm not sure what to change it to. And I feel like if we're gonna do that, then I feel like it should be included in like the welcoming kit that we send to everybody, to let them know this isn't just a place where you just air your dirty laundry and talk about somebody. It's for a purpose. You're doing it so that you can heal. So that's my take on that.
That's great, because recently we came upon something very difficult, which we'll get into at the Journal Artist Producers meeting tomorrow. But it's very highly charged and sensitive. And it happened recently in Sarah's workshop. So I'm not going to talk about it here because it's being recorded. So, but we'll talk about it at the producers meeting tomorrow. But we did come across a situation that was pretty controversial. And so we, as a producers group, we're going to come together and address it as a group. But yeah.
Tomorrow, I forgot if I was aware.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. 12. Wait, is it 9 or 9:30? Give me 1 second.
Oh yeah, I won't be able to make it. That's right. Darn it.
Okay. Sorry about that, Katie.
Oh no, you're fine. It's what happens.
It's 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's 12 p.m. Eastern and 11 a.m. Central. I'm getting better at this.
That's all right. I have to look it up every time I see something. Okay, what is it for my time? So it's all right.
Yeah. Great. Let's see. Anything else on the agenda for the board? Okay. Oh yeah, how are you doing on the manuscripting phase, Tamara?
Oh yes, that's what I was looking at. I am not where I wanted to be. And I don't feel bad about that at all because I've been living in the meantime. I've been trying to get my house together and the kids, and this virtual learning is a little bit more stressful than what I thought it was going to be. And the computers are acting up, so I'm on the phone with the tech service, so they're on my computers all day. So I feel bad about it, but I don't feel bad about it because it's finished. The only thing that I need to do is go ahead and put it in Vellum, which is already on the computer. And I need to upload what do you call that? The illustrations that I have for it. And I know I had to get a copyright from you. And there's something else that you told me about that I think, the terminology for it slipped my mind.
Did you do
But-
cover art, you said?
Oh yes. Now I do have something for the cover art, but it's not illustrated by the guy who drew the pictures. It's a picture that I took with my phone, but I sent it through an app so that it looks like a drawing. And I
Yeah,
wanna
that's
give
what I
him the
did for mine.
credit. Yeah, I want to give them the proper credit, but I'm not really. Well, I'm just gonna look at your book and see how you credited them, Katie. Is that okay?
Well, all I did was, I didn't credit the software because it was free, but all the photos belonged to me. So I think I just did photos by Katie.
Okay.
I don't remember. I should go over and look, but I'm lazy. But,
Yeah, no, in my book, the in cover with all the credits, I just put like feature photo by, and then the name.
yeah.
Okay.
So if it's your
Okay.
own artwork, you should be fine with just putting your name.
Yeah, credit yourself if it's your photo, and if someone took it, credit them. And all right, my next question is, what kind of coaching would you think Viviani, you, and actually Sarah would need in this phase of the program?
Of the publishing, I guess just letting me know how to go about getting the copyright or whatever else that I need. I'm not really sure the steps after this. I know I just need to upload it in the Vellum, and then my knowledge stops right there. I don't know what to do after that.
Okay. How was your meeting with Viviani? Did you two meet?
Yes, we did meet, and she wants to meet again, but I'm just not sure what my schedule looks like. I need to contact her after I get off of this meeting.
What could we do if we were the coach and we asked a cohort to come together to be each other's accountability buddies? Just throwing it out there for Katie as well. Like, what could we as coaches do?
Okay, now this may run over the 1 hour thing, but a bi-weekly check-in just to make sure that you're either staying on track or that you haven't forgotten, And I doubt if anybody forgets, but just somebody to say, hey, how's it going? What's going on? Because in that, maybe they will relate, as I had to realize, there is a little bit of at one point there was a little bit of fear when I was like, okay, I'm really about to do this. Am I going to offend somebody? And I was like, wait, should I really do this? And it should not be a question in my mind, but if it was a question in mine, then it's going to be a question for somebody else too. And I think just that bi-weekly check-in will encourage somebody to go ahead and say, okay, you can do this. This is your truth. Just make sure you put the disclaimer in that you're not really talking about anybody in particular. This is just your story. If I can say it like that.
Yeah. That's even after being published, it's still something like you think about, like, was it okay to publish this thing? What would potential fallout be?
Producers are either in Act 3, Act 2, or they're just waiting for me to build a curriculum for the next, the Divine Comedy, right, Katie?
Mm-hmm. I feel like all the time I'm like, oh, it's done. And then I'm like, oh, wait, is it? Where are we?
You got another book to write, The Divine Comedy. But that's from the book, The Thin Little Book, the love story playbook that I know Tamara and you both have. So, just a quick, how is it so far? Did you start reading it, and is it helpful? I know, Katie, you had to read it.
I haven't read it with the most recent updates, but yes.
So, I mean, yeah, so go ahead, Tamara.
I've read it, but I haven't read it in its entirety. I have stopped because of things that's been going on.
Sure.
But I read it. I got I want to say over halfway done, and then I hit a rock, and I had to go back and start reading it again just to make sure I understand. I may be terming it wrong, but replacing things, trading one thing for another. I can't remember which
Is that
is.
the anti-curse?
I'm not sure if it was the anti-curse or not, but it was something about being grateful, and you take one thing that,
Yeah.
does that ring a bell
Yeah.
somewhere? I know I'm not using your words, but
Replacing
yeah,
replacing vices with virtues.
yeah, along those lines, I went back to that, and again, like I said, I had to stop. But for a while, I just got stuck in the villain phase,
And that's okay. You're good. You're still.
Yeah, and I stopped reading it again, because of things that was happening in my life, and now I'm at a point where I'm not in the villain phase, but I'm just kind of, just floating around. I don't really know what I'm doing right now, but
Purgatory. We didn't have
yeah,
that.
that's what I feel like. I feel like I'm in purgatory. Yeah, that was a good word to use. But I do want to get back into reading it and I guess formulate how I feel about it, because I do feel like it was helpful, and it was real life. I was really in those moments, so I'll say good job, I'll say that.
Well, I can't. I mean, thanks. I mean, I will say that we will be in the next 30 days. We will be revisiting Act 2 because I have updated Chapter 5 in the Producer's Playbook, and I believe I could stake money on that. Not that I have money right now, but if I have money, I would stake it on that chapter to reverse curses. I'm pretty confident in the formula now. And I think another conversation we're going to have tomorrow is actually applying that to our highlights, our resonations, to actually see it happen, because you got to get really specific on your personal tragedies to be able to find your shadow and turn it into an anti-curse. And then so there's two things missing before we start our Divine Comedy, Katie, that we have to go backwards on, just to backtrack a little bit. And one is we got to do more anti-curse statements from our previous journal entries that we published. So I hope you have your archive of highlighted journal entries. So we'll go back and we'll put together the worksheet, and we'll actually come up with a library of anti-curse statements. And then that way, when you're reading the love story playbook, you'll know what to replace. Because if you could identify where your triggers are, if you could identify your shadow and put it into a category, then by that time you'll have, if we could put the shadow statement next to the anti-curse statement, then if you could identify your shadow in real time, you could just look at your worksheet and then like absorb the anti-curse statement and like repeat it to yourself, because now you know where your shadow is, and then your grace is to be in the non-action of reacting to the noble shadow, and then acting upon the anti-curse that aligns with that specific noble shadow. So it's going to get really technical, but at the same time, it's going to be super helpful because it's customized to you. And so in Act 3, that's the beginning of acting on the anti-curse. And that's how we're able to write a divine comedy, is the actions we take in real time so we could document it. So that's going to be quite interesting. I think in the next 30 days, I'll just finish up with Act 2. I'm like 90% done. And for Act 3, I don't know, but like, yeah, next 30 days for sure, Act 2. My question for you, for all of us is like, if we had to allocate 2 hours of coaching, do you think most of it will be spent on helping people produce anti-curses?
I
Is
I
it
think it'd be
strictly,
kind of split between, one, the shadow work and the noble shadow, and then once they're understanding, like, oh, this is what these highlighted places mean, then yeah, I think the other half would definitely be anti-curses.
Yeah. And writing in the second too, because not
Yeah.
everyone's comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm. Because
Okay.
it definitely takes a certain perspective to look at it for what it is and definitely understand it.
Yeah. Tamara, do you have anything?
no, I agree. I was gonna say the same thing about the shadow work that I felt like they would probably need help with. So no,
Yeah.
I don't.
And that's another thing I have to work through with our team tomorrow is like, how do you discern your noble shadow? Because we know that the highlights will get us closer to, but it's not a definitive indicator.
Didn't we say that if multiple people highlight the same thing, then that's more than likely the noble truth? Noble
Yes,
shadow?
yes and no. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, because we're placing it on faith where two or more gather, there
Mhm.
the Holy Spirit is in the presence. And no, because it's not scientific. Like we don't have enough data analysis collection to say that this is where it is. This is a hypothesis and we're testing it, right? So I would say to discern a truth from a lie at the end of the day, it has to go through prayer,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
It's really like your relationship with your higher power. And I'll tell you right now, I am the worst at listening in communication with spirit. Like I talk a lot, as you can sometimes tell. But when it comes to listening, I have a hard time. Now, Tamara, do you have any insights on listening to spirit?
Nobody's ever asked me that before. But I don't really know how to explain it. I'm naturally a quiet person. I hate to say it like this, but I grew up in the country. I grew up listening to the wind blowing, the birds and things like that, and I have to listen to what sounds familiar, and it's almost kind of like a song that's kind of leading, and that's, I can't put it into words that other people can understand, but that's just where I am, and that's how I can tell one from the other sometimes. I'll think more about it, and I'll try to write down how best to explain it to other people, but nobody's ever asked me that outright before.
It's interesting you brought that up, Tamara, because I was fascinated by John Ramirez's testimony. Have you heard of John Ramirez?
I
Katie?
don't think so.
I don't think I have.
Okay, so John Ramirez was a former Satanist, and
Mhm.
he had a great intimate relationship with Satan. Okay, this is gonna sound really cray cray, but he when he turned to Christ and he he was able to discern quickly because he is so familiar with the voice of the enemy
Mhm.
that he knows the contrast.
Mm.
And it's interesting you said, Tamara, that something about familiarity that's custom to you. So the opposite could be said of the same thing, like a familiar trusting voice, a familiar loving voice, a familiar thing that has like positive resonance
Mm-hmm.
and being able to something from that. I'm gonna pass it over to Katie. How do you discern the voices?
It's kind of in the same boat. It's like it's what my relationship with the Holy Spirit's like, and it's more unique to me of just shutting up for a bit and kind of thinking through based on what I already know. So what I already know would be hopefully the truth, and so anything else is like if it's not fully aligning with that, then it must not be the truth, at least a holy truth in that sense. So I don't know, it's trial and error, because it's like, well, is this the answer I'm hoping for, or is this the other answer that I have to acknowledge and bow to? So I don't know.
Yeah, because I wonder if, let's say you go back to all your journal entries and just focus on the parts that are highlighted.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the exercise is to look at the parts you're not sure are true or not, and just do a quick prayer to God and say, God, this is where I'm confused. Can you please show me in time, on your time, if this is true or not?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Act 2 journaling is a way to pick up on the answers, or the breadcrumbs from
Mm-hmm.
because it's a question answer, right?
Yeah.
It's
Because
a,
I also think it would definitely depend on it, especially for those who are, adhering to a different power. Is like, is it a truth based on what you want it to be, or is it the truth as it is? And even though that may not align with what you want, because that's where some people get, caught up. Because if it aligns with what they want, it's like, okay, well, then this must be it. And it's like, well, that may not be the case. So I think it would be a facet of that as well.
that's really interesting, because I've in my spiritual journey, I'm at a point where I know there's two wills. There's my will and there's God's will. That's where it's at, right? So, I think it would be appropriate for Act 2 to make that distinction,
Mm-hmm.
that divine will means you're sovereign, God's sovereign, and how can you know when it's just your will,
Mm-hmm.
and when it's God's will that's speaking to you? And how do you know if, I don't know. I was going to say something, but I realized we're way over time, so I do apologize for going over. So I'm going to plant that seed, and we'll have a more thorough discussion in the next week. We'll have another meeting, the three of us, to talk about the coaching. I'll write the media kit. I mean, not the media kit, but the intro kit. But I would love to get your feedback on it, and maybe we could have a deeper discussion on what we would want to see in Act 2. That's going to be practical. It's like practical spiritual principles that they could apply to. And what do we do with people who believe that ours is a little too Christian, let's say, or too spiritual, and they just don't have the faith right now, and they feel like maybe we're trying to brainwash them, like, what do we do in those situations? But I found this way to be very practical. That's just my personal experience. It's just practical. It's like, who knew that prayer and faith could actually be practical? But it is. So how do we apply that in the program?